1. Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Austin Brubaker joins. Nothing to talk about, right, Austin?
Absolutely nothing to talk about on this glorious start to playoff baseball. Couldn't be more excited to be able to join you today. Talk a little bit about the Dodgers in preparation for the game tonight against the Cincinnati Reds.
So first of all, let's start here. Let's start with the action so far today. Take us through that. Then we'll get into the Dodgers roster and the Reds and all that.
Yeah, so right now, playoff baseball is happening as we speak. If you see me looking out in the corner right there, that's because I got the TV over there going with right now currently is the Chicago Cubs and the San Diego Padres. The Padres are down 2-1 as we speak, going into the top of the 8th inning against the Chicago Cubs. One of those teams will be going on to face the Milwaukee Brewers. So it will either be the Brewers, the Padres, or the Cubs that will be on one side of the bracket in the National League Championship Series. That is something to keep an eye out for. And then earlier today, we got to see great pitching performance from Tarek Skubal. Detroit Tigers won 2-1 against the Cleveland Guardians. But all eyes right now for Dodgers fans, of course, is on the game that is happening tonight. Dodgers versus the Cincinnati Reds. And what's noteworthy and why one of the main reason why we are on is because what we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks is what is this Dodgers roster going to look like for the postseason? And something that very much is noted is that the wild card roster it varies much different than what it does for the rest of the playoff roster, because you're just talking about a best 2 out of 3 series. And with the way that the Dodgers constructed their roster this year, very much is different from what expectations. However, if you understand the state of the Cincinnati Reds and you understand where some of the Dodgers' weaknesses are, I think it starts to make a lot of sense why the Dodgers made some of the decisions that they made with their roster.
Yep. So to start here, where are the surprises? Where are the non-surprises? And just let's first of all start with where you were actually surprised on this. I know we'll get into the Justin Dean. I was 1,000% incorrect on that. You said, hey, what about Justin Dean the other night? I explicitly said no chance whatsoever. And lo and behold, he's on the roster. So dive in there. You were just absolutely spot on with who you thought would be on this. So start in.
All right. So let's first off talk about the philosophical approach that the Dodgers took with the roster this year. So this is something that is actually pretty common when it comes to wild card rosters is you can have up to 13 pitchers. However, most teams either have 12 or 11 pitchers on their roster because it's such a shortened series. And with the Dodgers, the approach that they took, because they have a lot of confidence in getting length out of their starters, they decided to go with 11 pitchers and 15 position players. That, on the offset, is a little bit surprising. But what that meant is, let's start on the pitching side first, is on the pitching side, the main surprise is one of the guys that was left off the roster was Anthony Banda. Now, Anthony Banda has pitched really well as of late, and primarily his weapon, and this is going to be something that's going to, if the Dodgers advance, be a weapon for the Dodgers going forward, is his ability to go out and get left-handed hitters out. Anthony Banda this season has a sub 500 OPS against left-handed batters, which is incredible for a pitcher. One of the best marks for a left-handed pitcher in the game of baseball, getting lefties out. Here's the tricky thing, and this is what you have to understand about the Cincinnati Reds and their lineup. They do not have a lot of lefties as part of their lineup. You look at there's the Cincinnati Reds and their 3 lefties in the lineup: TJ Friedl, Gavin Lux, and Will Benson. As a priority for the Los Angeles Dodgers, they have to be able to get right-handed hitters out and against the Cincinnati Reds. And yes, the Reds as a team have struggled against left-handed pitching overall as a team. But matchup specific, Anthony Banda against right-handed hitters, it's a 773 OPS against right-handed hitters. It is much higher against righties than it is lefties. So even though as a team Cincinnati has struggled against lefties, it might not be as good of a matchup for Anthony Banda specifically against the Cincinnati Reds. So they decided to keep off Anthony Banda. The rest of the Dodgers roster as far as pitchers, Blake Snell going against the Reds tonight. Yoshi Yamamoto going for the start tomorrow. And then I believe the rest of the roster for the Dodgers, the other pitchers that are going to be available, obviously Shohei Ohtani Tyler Glasnow, Emmett Sheehan, Blake Trinan, Tanner Scott, Alex Vesia, Jack Dreyer, Roki Sasaki, Justin Robleski made the roster because he has a little bit better splits against right-handed batters this year, and then Edgardo Henriquez as well. Those are your 11 pitchers. The only two that were not on kind of the main expected were Clayton Kershaw, who we've heard about was not expected to be on the wild card roster. And then the big surprise on the pitching side was Anthony Banda, mainly because the Reds have a lot of right-handed batters, and specifically for Anthony Banda, just not the greatest matchup for him. But if the Dodgers are to advance, I very much expect him to play a big role for the Dodgers going forward.
Yep. And so, and surprises there you have. How many pitchers do you say?
11 pitchers
12 with
for the
Ohtani.
Dodgers.
12 with Ohtani.
Yeah, it's 12 with Ohtani. Yeah, he's the bonus pitcher. But as far as active roster pitchers that count as pitchers, is really just 11 for the Dodgers.
You need more offensive players than you do pitchers because it's only a 3-game series, which means Tyler Glasnow, Emmett Sheehan are going to the bullpen, which means you need fewer bullpen arms. So we said, a couple of days ago that instead of having that fourth pinch hitter in Michael Conforto, I'd rather have a pinch runner. The Dodgers did that with Ha-Seong Kim, and then also a Justin Dean. So the Dodgers saw it the same there. They would rather have that extra runner late in games and or defensive replacement than they would that maybe that second or third pinch hitter off the bench, which would be Michael Conforto. Then you don't need as many pitchers. And so what is the role here of maybe a Ha-Seong Kim as you have Justin Dean, Ha-Seong Kim, and Alex Call? What surprises me, I just thought the Dodgers really would think that Alex Call and Ha-Seong Kim was enough speed off the bench, because you would have to think, Tommy Edman in center, Teo in right, Andy Pages in left. That gives you those two speed guys coming off the bench with Ha-Seong Kim, one an infielder, one an outfielder. Apparently the Dodgers, that wasn't enough for the Dodgers. I thought it would be, and they add Justin Dean. Why does that happen, you think?
Okay, so the big story as part of the Dodgers announcing their position player lineup, Michael Conforto is not part of this mix. And I think that was a little bit of a big surprise, because you look at specifically the Reds and their matchup and their pitching, they actually, and this is a little bit of a change from what the show that I did yesterday, Nick Lodolo has been one of their really good starters. They have to move him to the bullpen because the only other left-handed reliever that they have is Brent Suter, who I compared a little bit to kind of a little bit more of a Ryan Yarbrough type, more of the 2-inning, bulk inning, kind of extend the game type of role. They don't really have that high leverage left-handed reliever, so they're utilizing Nick Lodolo in that role. So they have a lot of right-handed pitching, which with the way that the Dodgers have utilized Michael Conforto this year, would have alluded to him playing at least some sort of role. With the struggles that he has had, and because they do not have to keep the guys that have to stay on the 26-man roster during the regular season on their playoff roster, they decided to not go with Michael Conforto, and I think that's because they did not see any type of role as particularly a starting role for him during this series. And I think this could be something that we could see going forward for the rest of the playoffs, because I think the Dodgers are prioritizing a couple of different things, particularly with this move. So they did not have Conforto on this roster. They do have Will Smith on this roster just in case he is available for either a pinch hit role or if surprisingly he's available to catch, which I'm not fully expecting at this point. That was a little bit of a surprise. But the main story, as you had mentioned, Ha-Seong Kim, Justin Dean on the roster. And I think this is prioritizing a couple of different things. One, you had mentioned speed. Ha-Seong Kim is going to play a very big role in that if it's late in the game and you're looking for the smallest of advantage. If you have, for example, a Miguel Rojas get on base, getting somebody like a Ha-Seong Kim to go in and pinch run for him to get some speed on the bases is going to be very important. Or if you have some of the other guys that might be a little bit slower, he's going to play a crucial role. You have speed with him. You have a little bit of speed with Alex Call. You also have some speed with Justin Dean as well. And I think this is primarily important with the role that Justin Dean is going to play, because if you look at the outfield defense, it doesn't inspire a ton of confidence, especially with the injuries that Tommy Edman has been sustaining as of late. What is his actual health going into the series? Because we know this season he's dealt with a whole lot. Is he actually fully 100% ready to go to where it's a big late inning moment in the game? Do you fully expect Tommy Edman to be able to go out there and be 100% healthy? Obviously, we don't have the answers for that, but to have somebody like a Justin Dean, who I think his primary role is going to be that last inning or last 2 innings when the Dodgers have a lead, defensive substitution in center field. You can move him to center field. You can have an Andy Pages in right field, or move a Justin Dean if you wanted to have him in left field, move in left field. But you could have a defensive lineup of Alex Call, Justin Dean, and Andy Pages. And this turns from a negative to the Dodgers, something that very well could have cost the Dodgers a run late in the game when you're talking about an outfield that has been, for the most part, Michael Conforto, Andy Pages, and Teoscar Hernandez, into something that could actually be pretty positive for the Dodgers. They added some speed. They added some late inning defense, especially with as much help as they can provide for the bullpen as it possibly can. That's what they prioritize over a guy like a Michael Conforto. He is not on the roster. Will Smith is on. Justin Dean is on. Ha-Seong Kim is on. Alex Call is on. 15 position players for the Dodgers this round.
So why do you choose Dean over Esteury Ruiz? Because Dean's the better defender. Now, yes, that allows you to put the best 3 defenders in the outfield, which you mentioned, Justin Dean. And then also, Esteury Ruiz can play center field. That's Dean's jam there, center field. Mm-hmm. So that allows you to put maybe Justin, like you said, Justin Dean center, Alex Call left, Andy Pages in right field. You get a lead, that kind of thing. You go out and throw strikes through bullpen. You win a game from that perspective. But also, this is a two-way go with Justin Dean. First of all, he's a better defender than Esteury Ruiz. Esteury Ruiz was never going to play offense for the Dodgers. So, hey, are you gonna pinch run him at first base and steal second? I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty risky deal. That would be the only argument for Esteury Ruiz, is that he could steal a base over the Justin Dean. But I think what they wanted out of that position was defense. Here's why I think the main reason why I think there's a possibility of Justin Dean getting that nod too, because you could also put Alex Call or whoever else in center field, or leave Tommy Edman there. You mentioned his health. Here's another way to look at that, okay? Miguel Rojas, who I think is going to be the everyday second baseman, not very fast, right? Mm-hmm. So if Miguel Rojas, say, leads off the 7th inning with a walk, you're down 1 in the 7th inning. He leads the 7th inning off with a walk. Guess what you can do? You can pinch run for Miguel Rojas, which means you lose your second baseman, which means Tommy Edman goes to second base, which means Justin Dean then goes to center field. So I think that also gives you the ability to pinch run for Miguel Rojas if you need to late in a game, because you have Tommy Edman at second. And then you kind of say, well, that's insurance upon insurance upon insurance. Well, why not, when all you have to do is dump Michael Conforto, who's not going to be an everyday player anyways? Mm-hmm. And is Dave really going to turn to him over a Will Smith or a Kike Hernandez or anybody else, or even a Dalton Rushing? I mean, let me ask you this. Would you rather have Dalton Rushing pinch hitting or Michael Conforto? I know who I would rather have. I would rather have Dalton Rushing, just because I know the type of mentality that he has and the upside aspect of that, and then the experience he'd be gaining. So I think another aspect of this, too, is that it gives you options with Miguel Rojas.
Mm-hmm. It provides a lot of different options with Miguel Rojas. I think especially if the Dodgers were to advance to the next round and you're starting to face the Phillies, which have a lot of left-handed starters. Miguel Rojas has excelled mightily against left-handed pitching this year. He's going to play a massive role. But even in this wild card round, even versus some of the righties, you could still see him having a role. And now you have a lot of different options of good defensive players at both up the middle. You're talking about Mookie Betts, who has had a really, really good season defensively at the shortstop position. Then you have options of a Miguel Rojas, who's been awesome at second base. You have Tommy Edman, who's been a Gold Glove second baseman in the past. You also have Ha-Seong Kim, who has been really solid at second base. all as options of which you can use defensively. And then in center field, you also have Tommy Edman, who has been really solid defensively. You have a Justin Dean now who can be really solid. And then you also have an Andy Pages who has grown quite a bit in center field. You're starting to have a lot of different defensive players that, depending on the way that the game moves, whether the Dodgers have a lead or they need a pinch runner, they can still have value defensively up the middle, which is the most important aspect of the defense, is making sure you get the up the middle defense right. Now the Dodgers can turn a lot of different ways and make sure that up the middle defense stays up to par with exactly what the Dodgers need.
Yeah. And the Dodgers don't miss a thing, man. They thought this out. And so I'll come at it from this perspective, Austin. If it's good enough for the Dodgers, it's damn sure good enough for me. Hey, I'll say this, man. Talking to Justin Dean in July and talking about being a D2 walk-on from Lenore Rhine. Walk-on at D2 Lenore Rhine all the way to making a major league roster. Wow. What a deal there. So I'll say this too, okay? Here's the downside of this. I'm reading between the tea leaves here, and I'm usually pretty good at this because I've done a lot of playoff roster construction, about 30 years of it, okay? And so the way that I'm reading into this is the Dodgers, don't trust their offense. So they're hedging against an offense that they're not trusting to score like 10 runs a game. And then B, they're also not trusting their offense like to continue to pile on. So we've seen the Dodgers score like 4 or 5 runs early in games and then not score again for the rest of the game, right? I think they're hedging their bets against that because they're thinking, okay, well, we're not going to rely on an offense to score 7 or 8 runs. What we're going to ask our offense to do is to go get a 3 or 4 run lead behind a good start and, maybe have a 4-1 lead going into the 6th inning. Turn it over to an Emmett Sheehan or a Tyler Glass now. Let them finish the game and then bring in your best defenders at the same time. And if you need to score a run late, then we have plenty of speed to execute the winning baseball plays. So what they're doing, Austin, pitching, speed, late game speed, and then defense. I mean, they're kind of going old school at the way that they're building this, which I'm sure to Dodgers fans is kind of like, whoa, man, that's kind of an interesting deal. But I think they're hedging against an offense that's not a guarantee to be all that great in the postseason.
I think it's also a recognition of where the weaknesses are on this team. With some of the starters moving to the bullpen, I think that has to do with the recognition the bullpen has not been the greatest for the Dodgers. With leaving Michael Conforto on this roster, you look at the strengths of where Michael Conforto has excelled when he has been a good player in his career. It's with his bat. His bat has not been there this year. And if his bat is not there, why are you going to utilize him? Especially if you're going to utilize him and you would need him specifically against right-handed pitchers. He has not been the greatest against right-handed pitchers to this point in his career, or at this point in the season. Just a 76 WRC plus against right-handed pitchers this year for Michael Conforto. That's not going to do it. The Dodgers will turn to alternatives if that's the case, and especially with Michael Conforto, if he's not going to provide value with his bat, he's definitely not going to provide value with his glove. So that removes him off the table. It's a recognition of that, and also a recognition of some of the weaknesses for the Dodgers. They're not the greatest defensive team. I wouldn't say they are a terrible defensive team, but they're also not the greatest defensive team. And I'm saying they're not the greatest defensive team. With them, I think they understand where they are and what eventually they might need to try to make their team as good as it possibly can be and maximizing the roster as best as it possibly can. There's a reason why you have 15 different position players. It's because you do not anticipate the Dodgers going through and having to utilize all 11 pitchers or 12 or 13 pitchers. And so you can utilize your roster in a different way that helps maximize it a little bit better. I think this is going to get the most out of the Dodgers roster and help make sure that they go ahead and do everything they can to make their roster as complete as possible, even if that means interchanging some of the players to make the team as good as possibly can be. The Dodgers are all in. They understand where their weaknesses are. They understand what they need to do to go out and win the World Series and go out and win this wild card series, I should say, before getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
They just need to go out and execute, and it all starts tonight against the Cincinnati Reds. Starts against Hunter Green. Should be a fun matchup between them. I couldn't be more excited about it.
So keep in mind, this is only for the wild card division series. That you can completely change your roster in between playoff series. I can't get my ABC to work here, so I'm going to have to rely on updates in the chat. And so here, let me simplify this as easy as I possibly can. Does Justin Dean have the potential to make the Dodgers? You mentioned the Dodgers aren't necessarily a great defense, so that I think this organization, the margins, we talk about the margins all the time. They wanted to fill in on the margins and fill in their deficiencies more than adding to their strengths, if that makes sense. So does Justin Dean have the potential to help this team defensively?
Yes.
Absolutely. Unequivocally he does, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does Michael Conforto, does he stand any chance to help this team offensively in this 3-game series?
With what he has shown with his bat, there's a large sample size of this season to suggest that he is not the greatest option to go out there, or at least
would he even get a chance is what I'm saying. Why would he even get a chance?
The only argument is if you wanted to throw him up against right-handed pitchers, but the fact that he has struggled against right-handed pitchers throughout the course of this season suggests that he is not a great option to go out and throw out there.
He would only be a pinch hitter, right? He's not going to be a late game. So it's like if he pinch hits, then you have to pinch hit for him. Then you have to bring somebody else in the outfield. And so you're using 2 players to fill 1. So if you're going to do that, you might as well do that with like a Miguel Rojas when you're actually trying to advance a runner into scoring position who's already on base. Are you following what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm following.
So as weird as this sounds, because Michael Conforto is making $17 million, and he hasn't been a terrible hitter his entire career. He hasn't been good this year with the Dodgers. As weird as this sounds, Justin Dean squarely, unequivocally, no doubt, 100%, completely, totally, entirely stands to have a better chance for what this Dodgers roster needs to make a positive impact towards winning games than Michael Conforto does. I just think it's as simple as that.
If you don't believe in Michael Conforto's bat, then he doesn't have a role on this roster. I think that's as basic as you can break it down. And Justin Dean, as a defensive replacement late in games, you can see him as a real positive out there in the outfield. That is what his role is going to be. He has a role. They did not envision a role for Michael Conforto. And ultimately, with playoff baseball, you have to pay attention to each of the smallest margins, and that can make a big difference late in the game.
Yeah, we have talked many different times. We were not at all, even when they signed Conforto, we were against it because it's a square parallel peg in a round hole from a defensive perspective. It messed with your entire defensive rotation. The Dodgers have fixed that. Although it's the right decision, I'm not going to lie, I didn't think they would make that decision. I just assumed it would be the veteran over Justin Dean, and that would be the end of it. Just because that's the way the Dodgers do things.
I think that was the expectations. And dating back to the last offseason, remember they signed Michael Conforto before they re-signed Teoscar Hernandez. And I think it was once they decided to sign both of them with the expectation or with the plan that Andy Pages, and this was before Andy Pages had made significant upgrades in center field where the defense was not that good. You were looking at 3 negatives in the outfield defensively. That's where there's some questions about some of the roster construction, some of the bat over the defense when you have 3 potential negatives out there in defense. That's where I think some of the questions could come up. There wasn't great one-year options out of the outfield last year, if I can remember. But Michael Conforto was the decision. He historically has been a better hitter than what he has been this year in his career. It's unfortunate that it hasn't worked out for the Dodgers, but ultimately long term, as far as past this season, it's not going to impact the Dodgers, and the Dodgers will move on and look for alternative options in the outfield for this upcoming offseason.
Any surprises? The Dodgers carried all 3 catchers. None to me. I've been saying at least for 2 weeks that the Dodgers would carry all 3 of these guys and that they would carry more position players than they would pitchers. So from those 2 concept perspectives, we've been telling you that for quite a while, so there's no surprises there. But any surprises about the 3 catchers?
Not overly, a little bit surprised that Will Smith is on there only because there's been a lot of question marks about his health, but this means that the Dodgers, because he had batting practice yesterday, feel at least confident enough in him to potentially be available in a pinch hitting spot late in the game. At the very least, that could be a possibility for Will Smith. And then if he's not completely healthy, ready to go, you need to have a backup in there. And especially with the wild card roster, you can have 15 position players. You make sure that you have that insurance. You make sure that you don't injure Will Smith to a degree where he's not going to be available for the rest of the postseason. If he has to come in, if there's an injury to one of the catchers, and you keep either Workvet, a Rushing, and a Will Smith, you make sure that doesn't happen. You protect yourself from insurance. And you also have Will Smith, who, if you're talking about a pinch hitter, probably would be the best option available to come into the game as a pinch hitter if he is at all healthy, ready to go.
So who are your bullpen arms that are actual bullpen guys? We know that it's probably either going to be Glasnow or Sheehan coming out of the bullpen first, and we're hoping it's a piggyback where they take it through the finish line. But if you do have to use one of your typical everyday bullpen arms, who are the first three guys out?
First, that is a great question. So they have a couple of.
Hey, before you go on, I'm sorry. Also, another deal about the Conforto thing. I don't want to bag on him. I guess I am. That's fine. You can think that. But it's just a negative topic. I mean, every time we've talked about Michael Conforto, how many times has it been in a positive vein, right? So you need, at this point in these short segments, you don't have time to have negativity. Are you following what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You don't have time to have fans pissed at you because you put Michael Conforto in, or have to answer all those negative. So even if you lose, but if you lose with your best players, nobody's going to be pissed. It's baseball. At least nobody at the Dodgers Dogs, because we know enough about baseball to know, hey, you put the best lineup out there, you put the best foot forward. There's so many variables. Sometimes you don't win, right? Mm-hmm. But if you do it with Michael Conforto in the lineup, or maybe even a Tanner Scott pitching, that's when even people like us get pissed. So I think also, just by leaving Conforto off, you're leaving the possibility of negativity creeping into post-game conferences and just fan reactions that you just desperately cannot afford at this moment. Am I a little bit too negative there?
Not overly. No, I think that's pretty accurate for what has happened. It's just unfortunate. So I'll leave you with this. I have to take off in just another minute or so. I'll let Casey, if he wants to keep going on with the show. You mentioned some relievers and stuff when it comes to down to the series. Let's say Blake Snell goes 6 for the Dodgers. Who are the 7, 8, and 9 inning relievers that you go ahead and bring in? I think Emmett Sheehan is one. I think you can get at least an inning. It sounds like Emmett Sheehan might just be a 1-inning guy, and they can utilize him more often if he's utilized in that role. That sounds like what the game plan is for him. It would be Emmett Sheehan, it would be Alex Vesia, and then kind of a question mark as far as who I would trust.
You're
with
leaving my ass with Alex Vesia. That's all you gave me, Brubaker.
Dude, I don't know. I mean, you could throw in before Alex Vesia, you can throw in a Jack Dreyer. The tricky part is Cincinnati's got a lot of right-handed hitters as part of their lineup. So do you want to go and with somebody like a Blake Treinen against that, which Blake Treinen has been significantly better. The issue with Blake Treinen has been him against left-handed batters this year. It's a plus.
Why would Sheehan only be a 1-inning guy? Why would that happen?
I think that's just a game plan so they can utilize him more during the postseason, as opposed to you're going to go out and just piggyback for a start. I think they want to utilize him as a weapon so then he can go, man, and he can be available not just for game 1, but available for game 2 or game 3. I think that is what the game plan is.
Win game 1 and it's over, man. You win game 1 at home, it's over. Win game 1.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you utilize your weapons as best as you possibly can.
You take Emmett Sheehan out in the 7th and give up a 3 spot in the 8th, and the Dodgers lose. Dodgers fans will rightfully so lose their minds. I mean, you can't do it. That would be a weird deal.
So then, no Emmett Sheehan available for the rest of the series would be the trade-off.
If you win game 1, who gives a rat's ass? You got Tyler Glasnow to be your piggyback the next night. Then if that doesn't work, then you still have Alex Vesia and all those guys. I mean, you got Shohei Ohtani going in game 3, right? I mean,
that would be my guess.
You win game 1. To me, you win game 1, period. Yeah. You don't save anything for any other time. You win game 1. You do what you have to do to win game 1.
Yes, and I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is how they decide to utilize their weapon. It might be a little bit, and this is a strategy not just for this game, but also for the long game during the postseason. Is you want during a lot of those high leverage, big impactful moments, you might want to use more of Emmett Sheehan. So how can you maximize and get most out of Emmett Sheehan during the postseason? And that becomes a question of, do you utilize him straight into piggyback role? Which if you utilize him into straight into piggyback role, he's not available until the division series. Or do you utilize him and have him available for two to maybe even 3 games during the series if it goes to 3 games? It is about winning the series. That is what it's about.
No, it's not. No, it's about winning the game that you have in front of you that night. That's where we'll disagree. Because the best way to lose a series is to lose a game because you're trying to think big picture for the rest of the series. Whenever you're in the short rows like this, you win the game that's in front of you. Every decision you make is to win that game. And by leaving Clayton Kershaw off, and as you said, having him available for game 1 of the NLDS, having that in your back pocket, that allows Dave to put the next best guy in and leave him in until the game is won. You win that game.
Let me push back at you a little bit. What happened last year during the postseason, game 2 of the championship series against the Mets? They or even game 4 during the World Series, they did not have their best guys ready to go, which didn't mean that they didn't try to win that game, but they set up their roster so that they can go ahead, and their goal to win the postseason is to win the series. Did they have
Emmett Sheehan and Tyler Glasnow ready to go as piggybacks with Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Blake Snell, and Shohei Ohtani as the 3 starters?
Yes, and all of this is not saying don't go out and try to win game 1 of the series. That is not what this is saying.
So let me throw
what it is saying is don't be completely reckless and lose the series for game 1.
So let me as you leave, I know you got to you're the statistician. If the Dodgers win game 1 at home against the Reds, what are the odds that the Dodgers are going to win that series?
Very good in the wild card because of the history of what that is.
That's the point. That's the point. You do everything you have to do to win game 1. Now, if you want to go with that philosophy, maybe in the NLDS or whatever, fine. But game 1 in a 3-game series is the shit, especially whenever you're the better team and you're at home. So that's you got to go, Austin. Awesome job, dude.
And all of that is to say, don't go throw game 1. Go try to win game 1 with what you have. That is not the message that I'm trying to throw. Which, by the way, Padres just lost to the Cubs. Cubs won 3-1. So they are up 1 game to nothing during their series. So excited for Michael Busch. So Casey, I'm excited about this. Couldn't be more excited about the game tonight. We'll see you later.
Great job, dude. Thanks, man.
Appreciate you.
All right, Austin Brubaker in the house. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this for you. And hey, I don't like being a empty co-host. Click this link. I can do audio only. I can do video. It doesn't matter. Click that link. Come on into the show. Come give your thoughts. Don't be afraid. Come on in and let's get a good show going. If you're out there and you're watching this, come on in. Click that link. I can do audio only. I don't have to do video. I can do video too. So click that link and let's get after it and let's go. So kind of to piggyback off of what Austin was saying there, game 1, if you win game 1 of a 3-game series. So imagine this: if you're the Reds, you don't hit the ball that well, okay, and you lose game 1 and you're at Dodger Stadium. You're playing a team that's better than you in the Dodgers, and you are now nothing's impossible. It certainly can happen, but your task is you have to beat. We got Bruce Davis in the house. You have to beat the Dodgers 2 different times on back-to-back nights to win that World Series, and you have to beat Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Shohei Ohtani to do it, and then Tyler Glasnow. Not a great prospect there. Bruce, what's up, man?
Okay, so I agree with what you said. Okay. I don't care who it is. All right. I respect who we play, but nothing against Austin. I appreciate the guy is a smart guy, but you got to
He's usually right too, by the way. Okay? He's usually right too, by the way.
And he's usually right. You got to go out and win. And I don't care what it takes, who it takes. Okay. You go out, you got to get that one. With these short series, you could be behind the ball just like that, and we don't want that. We got to go out with our best guys, our best defense, whoever that is. If that's Dean in the ninth inning or in the eighth and the ninth inning, then Dean is our guy in the center field. I wanted to ask you, so they are doing the three catchers, and Smith can just be what is it? He can just bat, right? So he's not going to be catching or anything this series, right? Okay. All right. Well, that's cool.
Well, I don't know. I don't have that confirmed. I don't know that. I don't have whether he's actually going to catch or not confirmed, but I do know that that he definitely is on the roster and he is available.
So let me ask you, since we've seen Ben, he's been really good. He's got a homer. He's bunted guys to the bases. He's done everything that we had been asking before the trade deadline. Can we play some small ball? Can we get some bunts? Can we do something to get a damn hit, right?
Yeah, right.
Do you think him and Dalton rushing? And I'm just gonna put Smith off to the corner. Nothing. I know he'll be there if he's healthy. Can we go with these? Can we go with him and Dalton through the whole playoffs, to the World Series, and win it?
Well, if you're gonna, I personally think Dalton Rushing, he will rise to the occasion. This is a guy that's made for the big moment. Ben Rortvedt gives you good defense. He gives you, a guy that you could bring in late innings to call, to be able to block the balls in the dirt. Okay, so that's all going to depend on if Shohei Ohtani hit that. So this is what I'm going back to with Bruce. Bruce about this. The reason why Justin Dean is getting put on this roster is because just reading through the tea leaves of roster construction, all the roster construction I've done, they're not banking on this offense being great. They're not guaranteeing that. So what they're asking of this offense, Bruce, is to score 4 or 5 runs. Then you can bring all of in your defensive replacements, Ben Rortvedt probably being one of them. That's why you see a Justin Dean, because they don't think the Dodgers are going to score 7 or 8 runs a game. If you thought the Dodgers were going to be a guaranteed 7 or 8 runs, Justin Dean is nowhere to be found on this roster, right? So I think this is kind of a statement to say, hey, we're pretty confident we can score 4 or 5 runs a game. At that point, we need to throw the best next pitchers that we have out there. We need to put a defense that is airtight, and we need to win the game 5-3. I think that's what you're looking at here from that perspective. Okay, I'm not sure that Rortvedt or Rushing, either one, is a worse defender than Will Smith, other than the fact that he throws down very well. Does it make sense?
I literally, I didn't think about that after Conforto. I literally was thinking, because Chuck said something in the chat about Conforto, him not being on there. We gotta, and obviously you're right. We have played times where we only scored 4 or 5 runs and we've lost it in the 9th inning. So I'm good with Dean. I think he's a good kid for our outfield. I trust him. All right. The organization wouldn't put this kid on the roster. I don't care if it's the wild card or if it's a later round. The organization trusts Dean in the outfield on defense, and
absolutely.
I think
don't you
has said that Dean would. Of course, I do.
Absolutely.
Over Conforto, over Theo, any day of the week, I'll take the guy any day. The guy's and he's fast. So, did Kim make the team?
Ha-Seong Kim did, yes. So Alex Gall, Ha-Seong Kim, and Justin Dean, all 3. You got all 3 speedsters on the team. So that's what I'm saying. If you need to manufacture a run in the late innings, Ben Rortvedt comes in, he bunts the ball. So, let's say Miguel Rojas leads off with a leadoff walk. Let me give you this scenario, Bruce. So you pinch run, say, Justin Dean for him at first base, right? And then Ben Rortvedt bunts him over to second base, and then Shohei Ohtani gets a base hit. Now you have had Miguel Rojas to give you the professional at bat to start the inning. Ben Rortvedt's bunted him over. Now you have speed at second base to score on the Shohei Ohtani base hit. So that also gives you the ability to manufacture a run in the late innings in scenarios like that, right?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Attack Green tonight. Attack Green in the first couple innings. Attack the guy. Let's get him. Let's get these 4 or 5 runs or whatever we can get. All right. Go Dodgers.
Hey, I hear you, man. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. All right. Bruce Davis is signing out. Great job, Bruce. Bruce, you're an absolute Rockstar. Hey, let's leave some comments for Bruce about how great of a job he did. Let me go ahead and give you this link one more time. Hop on into the chat. Click that link. Come on in. Join. Let's give your thoughts and let's get a great conversation. So super excited for Justin Dean. I'll give right here. I'm going to have to give this up to Helen. Let me see if I can. Well, let me just say this. Helen the other day on a comment on actually yesterday's show. Let me go ahead and do this right now. And I just want to show this to you. So this is going to be a little bit clunky, but hang in with me just for a second, okay? Because let me do this and let me do that. Click a couple of buttons here, and let me throw this up on the screen, okay? Here we go. Read this comment right here, okay? Check this out. Helen had the 15 and 11 configuration down, okay? She also had Justin Dean on the roster. So Helen, you need to be a GM because Helen right here, and I'm showing the receipt. Helen had both the 15 and 11 configuration on the roster and Justin Dean. That is pretty darn good right there, Helen. Well done. I wanted to give you your credit on the air. So, yeah, Shohei Ohtani hit his home runs tonight. Bruce, thank you again. This team has thrived in the last 2 weeks with those two catchers, says Anthony DeSantis. I agree. You're talking about Dalton Rushing and Ben Rortvedt. Mr. Classic says, hey, Garrett Cole, look what he did. And BC says, yeah, we're talking about other teams' players at this point. Mr. Classic, thank you so much for joining. Dodgers have way more experience in the postseason. That's been the Coach Barikoff narrative. Hey, let's just make the playoffs. Let's get there. These guys know how to handle the playoffs. Let that experience factor take over. Hopefully that absolutely happens. Got to win game one. Not to say the Dodgers can't win if they don't win tonight, because Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Shohei Ohtani could go out there and fire zeros, and the Reds never score again. Kind of like what the Braves did, I believe, is in 1996 against the Barry Bonds and Bobby Bonilla led Pittsburgh Pirates. The Braves got down, I believe it was 3-1, and then I don't even think the Pirates scored again. So that's not to say if the Dodgers don't win tonight, they can't, behind Yamamoto and Ohtani, can't come back and win the next two. They easily could do that. But if you do win game one tonight, I think that takes a lot of even thoughts from the Reds out of winning. It takes a lot of stress out of this 3-game series, because I can tell you a 3-game series is very stressful because it's not really baseball. Baseball is meant for the long run. This is a very short increment, and the shorter the spans, the less the analytics play a part in it, and the less the analytics play a part in it, the more unpredictable it becomes. So lots of stress here. Shelly Lawrence, how do you feel about Scott over Bonda? I'm good with it. I said Tanner Scott, his issues have been that he's gotten hit, but he has thrown strikes. So the Reds haven't hit lefties very well, Shelly. So what you want is a guy that what you can't have is to walk the Reds. So Tanner Scott's stuff should be able to beat the Reds in the strike zone. And so I think Tanner Scott got that spot, because of what he did last year. Obviously, the Dodgers saw that in the playoffs. You're kind of banking on him waking up maybe and finding the best version of having all that playoff adrenaline. But really more so than anything, you're banking on Tanner Scott coming in and challenging in the strike zone, throwing strikes, and forcing the Reds, who have not been good against lefties, to have to beat you instead of maybe walking a guy or two and giving them some momentum. So I think that was probably the biggest reasons for that. Mr. Classic, again, Yanks are good, but they have been horrible this season. So, wow, what a crowd we have logged in. Ryan R. says stats always win. So I'll be honest with you. I was somewhat close, probably not any closer than any other. Let's throw this roster back up on the board here and take a look at it. Probably not. The one that I missed, here's Chuck right here. The one that I definitely missed was Justin Dean, and that one still surprises me. And we're going to bring in Chuck right here. Give me just a second. Chuck Huddleston is in the house. Chuck, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Ready for some Dodgers baseball?
Oh, absolutely. Except, you know what? I have a birthday party tonight for my grandson, so I'm going to be on my phone during the party.
They're not even going to have the game on the TV while you're there?
Oh, I think they will.
Okay. You'll probably talk
But
to
I'm
them
going to be distracted during the party for sure.
All right. Tell us what you think today, man.
I was surprised, but you know that you made sense. Everything you said today made all complete sense. And, you know, Estuary, I was just thinking about, I was looking, you know, at the stuff you were doing with him, and I was looking at offense because he was really clicking near the end of the season at OKC. So I was thinking more on the offense side. But what you said made sense. Makes me think that Edman's not, you know, he's not quite ready to close the games in center field. I think he's going to be Dean's the insurance policy, you know, to close that out. And we'll have Colin left and him in center, I think, and Pajas and right to close out games, you know, when we have the lead. Because, you know, in these games, it's so fine. I mean, look at the games today. They're all really close, well-pitched games. Mm-hmm. Just a little mistake here or there.
Yep.
Just decided those games. And, I mean, I'm not thinking it's going to be any different for us. I mean, I think we're the one team, though, we could get a lead and go out and run away from them. We're a team that can do that. But will we do that? And we'll see what, you know, how Snell does. It's kind of be interesting to see. He seems pretty calm and collected, but, you know, he gives you, he might only give you 4 innings or 5 innings because he throws a lot of pitches. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does.
No doubt about that. So if that happens, I'm all for. So do you want Glasnow or do you want Sheehan first game? Because first you got to win game 1. So first of all, who is your first guy, Glasnow or Sheehan?
Sheehan's my first guy. Glasnow makes me nervous because he's either on or off. You know, he gets this. If he goes out and he throws a few bad pitches, you see him start clicking in his mind, and then he starts tinkering a little bit, and before long, he's totally out of his mechanics because he's such a big guy. He just easily loses his mechanics, and it takes him a while to get it back. So, but if he's on him, he just go out there and blow their doors off. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I like Sheehan first because I think that his makeup, the way he'll approach it, you know, makes sense. It's kind of like Robo. You know, Robo, he gets in trouble, he works his way out of it. He'll figure it out. He won't give up. And you see some pitchers get in there and they get in trouble, and it's almost like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
I mean, and I like that about Robo too. It seems like he doesn't give up. It might skewer him, but he'll keep working and try to get out of it.
Yeah. So if I were to ask you, what's the biggest deficit of Miguel Rojas? What would you say?
Just speed, I think, you know, the number one thing. But
so you can pinch run for him late in games and still have a center fielder to come in, Tommy Evan go to second, right? That's one.
Yeah, but he's
and then what's the other knock on Miguel Rojas? Just simple age, right?
Just age. I mean, he still has pretty good range, but he doesn't have the range he had even last year and the year before.
But what I'm trying to say is this, by putting Justin Dean on the roster, this means that you don't have to play Miguel Rojas every single inning at second base. Are you following what I'm saying? I mean, I know you have Hassan Kim too, but still, would you rather have Edman at second or Hassan Kim? I know I'd rather have Edman at second base. So I think from a more comfortable perspective, this allows you to give Miguel Rojas some time off without losing anything, or actually maybe gaining in terms of moving the ball forward to winning that game. So I think that also helps Miguel Rojas as far as he doesn't have to be, you don't have to rely on him to play every single inning of this postseason.
I don't think that's all of it, though. I think it also has to do with adding Will Smith, because that gives them an extra move now. If any of those catchers are on base and they need to replace them and they haven't used the other, they still have that in their back pocket to use. So I think it creates a lot more maneuverability than one would think, because you have that extra speed guy.
Yeah. And here's another thing. Here's why you have to carry 3 catchers. I used to bitch to no end that Doc would do this all the time when he first started managing. So he would like pinch hit Austin Barnes or whoever the backup was at that time, AJ Ellis or whoever it was. Okay. And then by about the 6th inning, the Dodgers had no more catchers on the bench. And I'm thinking, well, what if this game goes like 18 innings or so-and-so gets hurt? Like he would run out of. So what this does is this allows you to pinch hit Will Smith and still have that catcher on the bench, which you have to have. Whereas if you keep Ben Rortvedt or Dalton Rushing off the bench and you pinch hit Will Smith, say in the 7th inning. This allows Doc to use him whenever he wants. And then what happens if that game goes extra innings or that catcher gets hurt? What now? So this gives Doc the ability to, I think, to comfortably pinch hit Will Smith whenever he wants and still have that backup catcher on the bench.
Yeah, that's true. It's amazing how many times he's got away with doing that. I can't, and this year he was better, but in the past years, he's ran out of bench players in a 9-inning game. And I'd go like, oh, geez, let's not go into extra innings. We don't have anybody left. We don't have any pitchers left. We don't have any bench players left. And this game looks like it could go extra. So, yeah.
So where are we at with Kike? What's the role for Kike? Do we just go ahead and start him and make Max bat off the bench, or what? What do we do with Kike? This is his time of the year, and he is showing that it is because he's hitting now.
I know Max says he's ready, so I don't know. I read something yesterday where he said he's ready to start tonight. So I think that Doc starts Max because I think he just makes the lineup longer. Kike does, but Kiki's hit and miss. You lose that pinch hitter if you because Kike, you could put him up in a key spot when you have a runner on, and he might hit a 2-run homer and change the game.
Yeah, but having Will Smith as that pinch hitter, does that change things?
It does, but Will's won big games when he's been in the lineup, but it's not been very often where he has a couple times where he's been the pinch hitter that won the big game. But Kiki's been the pinch hitter several times that's won the big game.
All right, bottom of the 9th inning, Dodgers have a 1-run lead. Okay, hard ground ball to second base, bases loaded. If you boot the ball, you lose. If you field the ball, you win. Are we good with Ha-Seong Kim at second base?
In that position, I want Rojas at second.
That's what right. So what is the role of Ha-Seong Kim then?
Well, I think he's going to be the speed guy. I think if he had a big lead, they wouldn't worry about putting him out there just to give the guy some rest because we have old players. But I think if you have to move Rojas early, I'd like to have Edman at second and then Kim. But you need his backup because, Dave likes to make moves. He does. He loves to make moves.
So actually, we have the lineup right here. Let me go ahead and put this lineup on the board right here, and I'll go ahead and put the virtual camera on here so you can see it, Chuck. That probably looks weird to you right there, but let me go ahead and put this lineup on the board, and we can look at it and go over it, and we can talk about it right now. Shohei Ohtani, DH, Mookie Betts, shortstop, Freeman, first base, Muncy at third, Teo in right, Edman at second, Pages in center, Kike in left, Ben Rortvedt catching, Blake Snell pitching. So Kike over Edmonds at second base. Kike over Rojas.
That's surprising.
That is, isn't it? With Pages in center. So your initial reactions to that?
Well, I think they're really worried about the pitcher. I think they want to get every bat in the lineup because we have a tough matchup tonight. So I think one run might be the difference. So I'm thinking it has to do more with offense and defense tonight.
That lineup, of course, with the Dodgers, every time you think you have them figured out, you don't. That lineup surprises me. I just would have thought that Tommy Edman would have been in center field, Andy Pages in left, and Teo in right, Kike coming off the bench. But, hey, it is what it is, and so we will see how it all plays out. So, okay, man, Chuck, this has been awesome. Do you have any other thoughts that you want to get out there?
No, that's it. It does show you one thing, though, is that Doc is a lot more confident in Pages in center field. He's not worried about Pages in center field anymore. He's said it a few times, so it just shows you that he's comfortable with him. But no, this has been great. I'm excited about tonight, and I will watch every minute of it when I get home, even if I saw what happened and see it.
Well, enjoy the birthday party, and hey, the Dodgers will play another game someday, but hey, there's only one of these birthday parties that you get to as far as the age that they're at. So enjoy that part of it. I'm glad that you have everything in perfect perspective.
Yep. Thank you. You have a good one. Go Dodgers.
All right, Chuck. We'll see you, man.
Bye-bye.
All right, man. Okay, so Shiva, the line is open now. So this is your time right now. Actually, let me go get back to this screen right here. This is your time. Come on in. If you want to come on in and talk on the show and leave your thoughts, let me go ahead and put the link right here, and you can go ahead and click that link and come on in audio only, and we'll get your thoughts on the show here. So come on in, log on in. That That line is open. So, hey, the lineup is out. Shohei Ohtani, DH. No surprises in the top three. No surprise, Max Muncy at third base. No surprises that Teo Hernandez in right field. Tommy Edman is second. Andy Pages in center. And then Kike Hernandez in left. Ben Rortvedt catching. Ela Shiva Jones is in the house. Ela Shiva, go ahead and give us your thoughts here.
Oh, hi. I am so excited. So I never did this before. Casey, I'm a huge fan of your show. Can you guys hear me?
We can, absolutely.
By the way, I'm a fourth generation Dodger fan. My great grandfather watched the Dodgers in Brooklyn. And
oh, wow.
His son, and then all the way down to my father. And I go to spring training whenever I can. And one of my brothers went to spring training in Vero Beach multiple times. Anyway, I'm a huge Dodger fan. Huge.
Wow.
Anyway, first, I just want to say thank you for your show. I've been watching your show for several years now. I think it's fantastic. I love the content. Especially I like your, educating us about all the different minor league guys. I love your show.
Well, I appreciate your great support. That is absolutely awesome. Thank you very much for that.
And, okay, so obviously I'm very interested in what's happening starting tonight in our opportunity in wild card. I'm a huge fan. Max Muncy, obviously. I think a lot of people are. Obviously, Max has the talent, but I know he's been out for a bit with various different. I know he got hit in the head by a fastball or whatever it was, and he's had some various different things with injuries in the obliques. But since he seems kind of like he's coming into this game without having had a lot of recent playing time, do you have any concerns or how it might work out?
Absolutely. And I think the concerns that you have are the reasons why he has to play. So you have a pretty good advantage in this game. You got great pitching. You've got Blake Snell. You've got Tyler Glasnow. You got Emmett Sheehan. You still have three Hall of Famers at the top. You still got Teo Hernandez. You still got Andy Pages, who's been well. Kike Hernandez has been hitting the ball very well. So you don't actually have to have Max. It would be better if this lineup lengthens if Max Muncy does hit. But I think you need Max Muncy. You can win this series without Max Muncy being huge. You don't want to do that. You'd rather not. Where you're going to need Max Muncy is in the next series if the Dodgers are fortunate enough to beat the Reds. You need him to have these reps if you want to have him available and hitting the ball the way that he's capable of at all against the Phillies. So you might have to take a couple of lumps in terms of getting him back on track against the Reds. Hopefully you can overcome that, because here's my point. I don't think the Dodgers would probably beat the Phillies without a good version of Max Muncy anyways. And so if you don't play Max Muncy in this series, I don't see where you could really play him in the Phillies series. So I think this is kind of a big picture. What do we have to do to be able to win the entire World Series, which is the goal, versus just strictly tonight's game? Because I think you have other bullets that are secure enough to be able to win tonight's game regardless. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I had some other things too, which are not related to postseason, that are kind of more big picture. Can I ask questions about that?
Of course. Anything you want.
So I saw a recent interview, with Rojas, and he said straight out, he's like, my biggest goal in the offseason is to re-sign with the Dodgers for one more year. What are your thoughts? Do you think, I know that we don't know, but do you think the Dodgers might be interested in executing on that?
I would have no reservations. So here's the only issues that you would have. Miguel Rojas is not going to be an everyday player. So the only issues that you might have is in terms of regression. That's what the Dodgers, especially as guys get older. And then also maybe, as you sign a contract, which I feel like even at parts this year, Teo Hernandez kind of got fat on the hog because he signed his 3-year contract. And just human nature is you're not always locked in whenever you have that type of security. I don't think that's a concern whatsoever for Miguel Rojas. That dude is intense every day that he shows up. And so really all you need out of him, you need him to be available if you have a certain injury and he needs to fill in for a couple of weeks. He's done that. And I think you would be good enough to do that next year. The positive vibes that he brings throughout this clubhouse in, the leadership roles, that is huge. And then also, I just think, from a aspect of who else would you get as a backup? Who else would do better that would be any cheaper than Miguel Rojas would do? Because he's had 2 pretty good back-to-back years. So I don't think you would find anybody better anyway. So from that aspect, if it was up to me, I would not even hesitate in bringing Miguel Rojas back.
What about Muncy? So I think Muncy has a team option to be exercised,
Team
perhaps?
option, yes. They will absolutely 1,000% unequivocally bring back Max Muncy. He is, Ela Shiva, maybe the best bargain offensively of any player in the major leagues. And when you talk about what he does for an offense, the way that he slugs, the way that he drives and runs, and you compare that versus it being a short-term contract and only making around $12 or $13 million, he is one of the cheapest contracts of any good offensive player in the game. I don't even think that's debatable. I think the Dodgers definitely bring, and he's another guy, he will tell you the Dodgers invented his career. He would die to come back. I don't think there's any doubt that you bring him back.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think he's a great deal, but I'm not Andrew Friedman, so
Sure.
What else? In postseason, is your expectation that the Dodgers will make some moves in the bullpen? After the season's over.
In terms of letting go, like it may be a Blake Trinan or whoever it may be?
Yeah, just bringing in some other arms.
I don't think they'll necessarily, maybe, because remember, you're going to get Brusdar Graterol back, you're going to get Evan Phillips back, and so it's going to be pretty crowded. Then you're also going to add a Kyle Hurt, you're going to add a Gavin Stone, you're going to add a River Ryan, you're going to add all these guys. So I don't necessarily think it's imperative. Plus, last year, you have 6 starters, right? You have 6 starters. You have Evan Phillips coming back. You already have Tanner Scott on a 3-year contract. You're not going to let him go. With Phillips and Brusdar Graterol and the young guys that were injured coming back, Michael Grove also could come back and provide depth. I just don't see where there's really any room to go out and get another pitcher as far as a bullpen arm. So never say never, but hey, if the Dodgers blow a lead in the 9th inning to lose in, say, this wild card or divisional series, and it frustrates Andrew Friedman to the point where he's like, by God, I'm going to get a closer next year, I think that would probably be the closest path to that. But as it stands right now, I think there's too big of a logjam. It would greatly surprise me if they went and pursued anybody other than like a Brian Hudson, a guy that maybe could help, but is kind of a depth piece type of guy.
Yeah. One more question. Can I ask one more question, and then I'll go?
Of course.
So I know I'm asking questions about this and that. So I think I read an article recently that MiLB is going to implement in 2026. We're going to implement the automatic ball strike system. Something. What are your thoughts on that?
The challenge system is absolutely awesome. So the way that it happens is a pitcher throws the ball, and as soon as the umpire, let's say the umpire calls a strike, and the batter does not think it's a strike. So the challenge has to come immediately, like right off the bat, and it has to come from either the catcher, the pitcher, or the hitter. It cannot come from the bench. And so let's say that the umpire calls a strike, the hitter doesn't like it, the hitter thinks it's a ball, the hitter taps his helmet, and then the umpire announces the hitter is challenging the pitch. Then it goes up on the board. You'll see that square on the board. You'll see the pitch come in from a digitally, from a graphic, and then you'll see where it lands, and then the umpire will either say the call stands or the call has been reversed. That entire process lasts all of about 14 to 15 seconds. Plus, it adds so it doesn't add length to the game, but it does add accuracy, and it adds excitement. And then also, I'll tell you, here's the underrated aspect of the challenge system, is that if you're an umpire and you're getting overturned 6 or 7 times a game, you are going to get fired because you're going to have the evidence that you are not calling the game properly. So what it's going to actually do, it's going to make the ball strike calling more accountable for the major league umpires, and therefore it's going to give you better strike zones every night because they are going to not want to get embarrassed as far as overturning calls. Now, they tried when they first put in this system, they gave 3 challenges. They've moved it up to 2. Alex Friedman, if you asked him, the play-by-play voice for AAA Oklahoma City, he says 2 is the sweet spot. So I think they have the system in place. It works. They have it ready to go, and I'm super excited about it.
Okay. Thank you again for everything you do for your Dodgers stream, and let's go Dodgers.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ela Shiva. Thank you so much for joining the chat tonight. Absolutely awesome job. Going back to Bruce Davis. Bruce Davis, you are a rock star. Chuck, you absolutely rock. And Ela Shiva in the house for the first time. So we're going to go on for a couple more minutes. That's just about all the thoughts I got tonight. There is the link. I'm going to give you a minute or two if you want to click that and come on into the show. Again, the starting lineup tonight: Shohei Ohtani, DH, Mookie Betts, shortstop, Freddie Freeman, first base, Max Muncy at third, Teo Hernandez in right field, Tommy Edman at second base, Andy Pages in center, Kike Hernandez in left field, Ben Rortvedt catching, and Blake Snell is on the bump. So, hey, that's it. That's the starting lineup for tonight. I think I'm going to go ahead and log off and get my evening all squared away and ready to go. So, hey, what a wonderful show. Thanks again to Bruce. Thanks again to Chuck. Thanks again to Ela Shiva. Thanks again to all of you wonderful Dodgers dogs that left all these wonderful comments in the chat with this great conversation today. So thank you so much. You Dodgers dogs are the absolute 100% best. So until next time, which I think Austin and I might be able to put a post-game together tonight. It's going to depend on how tired either one of us get. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. If not, you'll hear from probably Coach Holt and I tomorrow. So until then, as always, it's a great day to be a Dodger.